I just had a couple puffs of green crack. That is a strain of cannabis, a sativa. I am mostly a cannabis and coffee kind of morning cannabis person. I like the sleepy, heavy indicas, but once in a while you need some green crack. I also have some El Sabroso pork cracklins, fried out pork fat with attached skin. And that is some serious stuff. Oh. And finally, a tangerine flavored LaCroix. That's basically carbonated water flavored with terpenes. Oh, yeah. So, welcome to the Doomed Planet Seattle True Crime Podcast. This is episode 30. Seattle scam artist Craig Dieffenbach. Before we get started here, I want to mention that it is June 12th, 2020, and there is a CHAZ, or Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, on Capitol Hill in Seattle. And the protesters took over the East Precinct Seattle Police Station. I think one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life just happened recently. That's when the protesters in Minneapolis burned the 3rd Precinct to the fucking ground. That filled me with joy. Even better is when the police abandoned the East Precinct in Seattle and just took off. So the protesters took over the area. The cop shop was boarded up. There's some of them back in there as of today. And they set up this unique society in this area. It's a beautiful thing. And we won't get into it in this episode, but I had a bad experience on the 2nd floor of Seattle's East Precinct. Sadly, we know that they are coming back. We want all that to be peaceful, to transition. This is too good to last forever. I also want to mention that there are so many people covering what's happening now. I'm not talking the mainstream media. I'm talking citizen journalists. And I think, as a privileged white male, I don't think it's my place I think others need to lead this movement, people of color and whatnot, obviously. And they're doing a great job of it. There's one guy that's problematic. We'll talk about him in a future episode. But again, we got a police station burnt down in Minneapolis. Seattle police abandoned the East Precinct, and the police chief, Carmen Best, has no good explanation for that. You had Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan ban tear gas. And then the next night, the police are gassing and flash banging the crowds. That inspired me to put out that little trailer you saw recently. Seattle fascist cop Mayor Jenny Durkan must resign. So, yeah, she's a sick fascist, sadistic psychopath that certainly gets a psychosexual thrill from unleashing the cops on peaceful protesters and of gassing an entire neighborhood so that people already confined to their homes during a pandemic are having this poison, toxic gas seep in there. And as you see by opinion polls, views of the pigs have changed radically since this uprising. It's been incredible to watch. It's an amazing thing that I think is very positive. Just getting the cops out of schools. I actually have a family story. There's a cop in the family I married into, and he's the nicest guy, and he's this great guy, but he's also a cop. And if you think it's just the bad apples spoil the bunch. They're all bad apples. Every fucking 100% one of them. They're sick maniacs, as podcaster and comedian Jimmy Dore would say. They're sadistic. They want to hurt you. They inflict violence on you and enjoy it. That's what they want. They want to fucking kill you. And we need to abolish them. All right, on to troublemaker Craig Dieffenbach, the inventor of Jimi Hendrix-branded vodka, friend of Leon Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix's less talented brother. And what else? Craig is a real estate developer And he got in big trouble for doing some medical marijuana stuff that pushed the already gray areas into bad territory of lawlessness. But again, Seattle True Crime Podcast, this is not fucking propaganda. This is about people, some of the outlaws we respect. I don't respect Craig. He's just a Seattle rich kid who's really, I don't know, the definition of the mafia, I think. Seattle is not a mafia town. It's almost laughable, but the mafia is a bunch of guys sitting around deciding, oh, what scam are we going to pull next? So that's Craig Dieffenbach. We'll be right back. Craig Dieffenbach was a co-conspirator in a conspiracy to distribute 5 kilos of cocaine from 1986 to 1989. Those were the glory days when everyone was on cocaine. And if you wanted to be a dealer and take that risk, you could make a lot of cash overnight. And so Craig getting in trouble there early. So Craig and some of his co-defendants drop a dime on Ariel Escobedo, a.k.a. Ariel Joaquin, a.k.a. Ignacio Hernandez. They get light sentences for their involvement in the cocaine conspiracy. And gosh, Craig, he has a lucky streak, I guess, if you can consider serving time for a coke violation. Luck. If you snitch on someone in this way in, say, Colombia or Venezuela, you do not live to serve out your prison sentence. But Craig is going to live, and he's going to move on to better and bigger things.
Jimi is physically dead, but immortal in his music. You know what I'm talking about? He lives on forever.
That was Leon Hendrix, the brother of the late Jimi Hendrix. And Craig Dieffenbach gravitated toward this guy because he likes the star power or something, I guess. I mean, it's odd. Leon is kind of a fuck up, and you actually have to be a major fuck up to blow any chance of inheriting money from the Hendrix estate. I mean, all he had to do is not be a major loser getting in legal trouble and whatnot, and they would have been forced to give him a share of the estate. But no, Leon gets nothing, and his sister, Janie, who is not related to Jimi and only met him 3 times, controls the Jimi Hendrix estate, which is quite valuable and has made her very, very rich. And of course, Janie and her father got help revitalizing the estate and clearing up some legal troubles. There was actually a brutal, vicious mobster in control of the publishing rights to Jimi's music for a while. Paul Allen, the late billionaire, was really a shallow person. He's like, oh, I liked Jimi Hendrix when I was young, so I'm going to start a Jimi Hendrix museum, which eventually became the Experience Music Project. It rebranded. Then it rebranded again to Mopop, the Museum of Pop Culture, because, Paul Allen, he liked Star Trek, so they had to have some Star Trek memorabilia in the museum. And, Paul Allen liked Yellow Submarine, the Beatles song and movie, and so he bought his own Yellow Submarine and put it on his yacht. What a shallow bastard. Now, his crazed sister, Jody, is the heiress who controls the Allen fortune, and she is a sick psycho. So again, we have the Jimi Hendrix and the Hendrix crime family. That's going to be an episode of the Doom Planet Seattle Crime Podcast. And also Jody Patton Allen, although she has the resources and is a sociopathic enough to probably, if she listened to a podcast about her various crimes, would take action. So we'll save her for the future. I keep getting distracted. We have Craig Dieffenbach. He's going to attach himself to Leon Hendrix. And then he and Leon are going to have some shenanigans. And he's going to go on to, and I kid you not, start a line of vodka branded with the likeness of Jimi Hendrix. And he gets sued by Janie. And guess who wins that suit? The owner of the rights to the Hendrix name and likeness. God, crazy fucknut Craig Dieffenbach. Almost lovable in his shenanigans. We'll be right back. This is from John Zabrowski in the Seattle Times, November 20th, 2001. Buyers step up to save Hendrix home. So a guy named Michael Hillo owned 2603 South Washington Street in Seattle's Central District, Jimmy's childhood home. He put the house for auction on eBay and it fetched $33,000, but the buyer backed out and he was going to demolish the house. And then two Seattle real estate developers, Craig Dieffenbach and Peter Sikov, stepped in to save the house. They want to make a Jimi Hendrix museum. So they actually moved the house. Dieffenbach, it says here, also helped develop Columbia City. That's a Seattle neighborhood dangerously close to our basement studios here at the Doomed Planet podcast. That's when he first actually got on my radar. So Dieffenbach and his buddy paid $30,000 to buy the house and relocate it. So Leon wanted to buy the house for some reason, or he claims to this reporter, but he was not the beneficiary of the 1995 lawsuit that gave control of Jimmy's estate to their father, Al Hendrix, who would pass it on to Janie and for a second time give Leon nothing. So he loses out twice on millions in inherited wealth. And apparently Peter Steinbrück was involved in trying to save the house before Dieffenbach swooped in. It's all like a weird publicity thing. Although, if you're buying a house for $30,000, that must not have included the land, but just the structure, because even back then that would have been very cheap, even for the Central District, which has been continually gentrified since city planners came up with a scheme to do so in the 1980s. We'll jump ahead to 2017. Joshua McNichols, a fine journalist for Seattle's public radio KUOW. That time, Jimi Hendrix's house almost wiped out our trailer park. The body of musician Jimi Hendrix lies in a Renton cemetery. Across the street is the Highland Mobile Manor Park, which looks like it hasn't changed much since it was built in the 1950s. A few years ago, a 900-square-foot house showed up to the mobile home park on a flatbed truck trailer. It was Hendrix's childhood home. It rolled up to the mobile park because of a dream that would not come true. Joshua goes on to talk about Peter Sikov. He's not mentioning Dieffenbach here. Dieffenbach probably dropped out of the scheme by this point. Bought the house. Sikov claims his real estate projects are, quote, experiential art projects, asylums, really, for people to experience and express whatever it is that they may with, which makes no fucking sense. So, of course, this guy is full of shit, just like Dieffenbach. Apparently, they were going to restore the home, but they never did. But then the manager of the trailer park, he had seen Jimmy perform, apparently, in 1970, and he said, all right, let's just leave the house here. And people moved into it. After a while, the city of Renton got sick of having this structure there at the trailer park, and they ordered it removed. And so the developer had it chopped into pieces, and that is the fate of Jimmy's house, which opportunists and schemers latched onto as some sort of symbol or some way to ingratiate themselves with the Hendrix family or estate. And Jimmy would not have given a fuck, and he probably only spent a few years there. So good riddance to Jimmy's childhood house and to one of Craig's early schemes. Oh, the internet, giver of so many gifts for the journalist and podcaster. You can see a whole bunch of photos of Craig Dieffenbach on March 2nd, 2006, at a party, the Los Angeles Confidential magazine's pre-Oscar party in association with Hendrix Electric and the Morgan's Hotel Group. Hendrix Electric is Craig and Leon's scheme to slap Jimi Hendrix's face on some vodka. And in one particular picture, we have Langley Krisman, whoever that is, Marielle Hemingway, and Jason Bin, CEO of LA Confidential. I've never heard of LA Confidential magazine. I'm not sure it lasted long. March 6, 2007, selling Hendrix vodka a sick joke, estate says. It's from the Seattle PI. The name of the late rock legend Jimi Hendrix will once again be grounds for a legal dispute, as those in control of the Seattle native's estate cry foul in federal court, this time over the marketing of vodka. Experience Hendrix filed a lawsuit claiming the company owned by Craig Dieffenbach is using trademarked material to market Hendrix Electric vodka and other products. And how obvious is it to Craig? I mean, someone owns the rights to Jimmy's image, to his music, to everything, and it's not you, Craig. And maybe Craig is allegedly the kind of guy that started doing coke in the 80s and just never stopped. And so much of his brain is missing, and possibly allegedly his septum, which is now just a platinum tube. I mean, these guys are few and far between. It's like finding a LSD or acid head. Well, you know, most people like me, you do it a few times and you're like, okay, I get it. You don't keep doing it and doing it and doing it for years and decades. But if you look at pictures of Craig during this time at this party for the vodka, that's the kind of guy he looks like. So poor guy. I would not wish that on anyone, even someone defiling the memory of Jimi Hendrix. We are gravely concerned that there may be a perception that Experience Hendrix has in some way authorized the sale of vodka, Janie Hendrix said in a statement. As a matter of strict policy, we have never promoted an alcoholic beverage. The Hendrix vodka is packaged in purple-tinted bottles and has Jimmy's face and signature looming above the labeling. One thing I want to mention, Janie was not satisfied with Jimmy's grave, and a simple headstone was replaced by a giant shrine full of lyrics and signatures, and it's just really tacky. So again, but Janie is in the right here. The reason, as she points out, is that Jimmy died. It's a little murky, but probably from an overdose of pills combined with some alcohol. And when the ambulance came to pick him up and take him to the hospital, apparently they propped him up upright, and so he was choking on his own vomit. And pretty much the EMTs were like, they had no idea who the fuck this guy was. They're like, this is some down and out, frizzy haired black guy. We have no idea who he was. And I can imagine that racism was involved in Jimmy's death. Maybe he would have lived if he had been treated better by the idiots that picked him up and took him to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. You think if Winston Churchill had some kind of similar medical problem, he would have been taken care of and would have lived. Speaking of that, they took down a statue of Winston Churchill, and they're taking down statues of racist, murderous psychopaths like Christopher Columbus and these Confederate traitors to America. The statues are coming down. But again, we're going to leave reporting on BLM and stuff to people who are already doing a good job of that. I just had to break in there because I was thrilled with that. Fuck those motherfuckers. Send those statues straight to the fucking furnace of hell. Experience Hendrix LLC, that's Jimi Hendrix, versus Electric Hendrix LLC, that's Craig Dieffenbach, and perhaps Leon. United States District Court, August 7th, 2008. The case involves the ongoing and expensive litigation saga between two factions of the Jimi Hendrix family. In this lawsuit, the Authentic Hendrix and Electric Hendrix companies, run by Janie Hendrix, Jimi Hendrix's stepsister, are suing Craig Dieffenbach individually and the companies formed by Craig Dieffenbach, collectively Hendrix Electric, or defendants, for infringement of the plaintiff's trademarks in connection with the selling, bottling, and marketing of vodka as Hendrix Electric. What a fucking ridiculous idea to not get permission to do that or think that you would. Jimi Hendrix died in 1970 in London, England, and his estimated $80 million estate went to his father, Al Hendrix. According to interstate laws of New York, that's not quite right. In 1995, Al Hendrix established and incorporated Experience Hendrix LLC and Authentic Hendrix LLC. That's with the help of billionaire Paul Allen. He assigned his rights personally and as sole heir to the estate of Jimi Hendrix to the plaintiffs, which would be his daughter Janie. Plaintiffs are now licensed to sell Hendrix products, music, branded T-shirts, guitars, guitar accessories, and posters. Defendant Dieffenbach has a relationship with the Jimi Hendrix family through Jimi's brother Leon Hendrix. Dieffenbach helped underwrite the James Marshall Hendrix Foundation, which Leon founded. He assisted Leon in preserving the original Jimi Hendrix family home, which was in danger of being torn down, and that didn't work out. He's the CEO of Electric Hendrix, and that didn't work out. Dieffenbach had previous litigation with the plaintiffs when they sued the foundation and individuals over the use of Jimi's name. Now, in that earlier case, Dieffenbach won. The court granted the motion for a partial summary judgment and held that no right of publicity descended to Al Hendrix in 1970 when Jimi died. And so that was a minor victory. In 2005, Dieffenbach filed trademark registration for Hendrix Electric, Jimi Hendrix Electric Vodka, and whatnot. Here we see that the Hendrix estate owns at least 48 registered trademarks: Authentic Hendrix, Experience Hendrix, Jimi Hendrix, and whatnot. Greedy fuckers. All right, I'll spare you the complexities of trademark law here. Incontestable marks, infringement, conclusions. Let's just say that you're going up against rich and powerful people like Paul Allen and the Hendrix estate. You're going to lose. But Jimi Vodka lives on, or at least the bottles do. You can go to eBay and purchase a Jimi Hendrix Electric Purple Vodka 750 milliliter empty bottle with original tag. And that has no value. Craig Dieffenbach, real estate developer and Leon's friend. Craig Dieffenbach, you're an idiot. Seattle Times, February 19th, 2009. Judge orders Hendrix vodka pulled from shelves. $3.2 million settlement. The makers of a specialty vodka named after famed Seattle rocker Jimi Hendrix have been ordered by a federal judge in Seattle to pay $3.2 million in damages. Funny she says rocker and not guitarist. The first time I went to Jimmy's grave, and that's before the gaudy shit was put up, and it was just like the right-handed guitar on the headstone. We had to ask the office where it was, and this ancient lady was like, Jimi Hendrix, oh yeah, the singer. No, yeah, okay, he's a singer. He's a pretty decent singer, an interesting voice. He's a fucking guitarist. The reporter of the Seattle Times, we're going to harshly critique your use of words there. I don't think he'd want to be called a rocker. I think had he lived, he would be expanding from some of the dumber cock rock 3-chord. Purple Haze, I think he discussed that he's like sick of that shit. He wanted to move into jazz and blues, experimental stuff, electronic music. Who knows what could have happened? The judge permanently barred Electric Hendrix from commercially using, advertising, or challenging the trademarks and logos controlled by Experience Hendrix and Authentic Hendrix, two companies owned by the Hendrix estate. Jimi died without a will, and his estate went to his father, Al Hendrix. Janie Hendrix inherited control of the estate when Al, her adoptive father, died in 2002. Leon Hendrix was cut out of the will by his father, who apparently grew tired of his requests for money. Leon took Janie to court in 2004 for a cut of the estate, and Dieffenbach funded Leon's court battle, thinking, wow, I'm getting a piece of this. So Craig is the worst opportunist. He's latching himself onto this sort of pathetic younger brother of a dead rock star, hoping to like funnel some of that money into his, whatever, his lust for money so he can buy more Coke to get more money to buy more Coke. When the lawsuit over Electric Hendrix vodka was first filed, Dieffenbach told the Seattle Times that partying, clubbing, and drinking vodka was an excellent way to honor the spirit of Jimi Hendrix. But Janie Hendrix countered that using the rocker's image to sell alcohol amounted to a sick joke. Jimi Hendrix was drinking and using drugs when he choked on his own vomit and died in London in 1970. So what does a person do who's dabbled in real estate and tried to squeeze some money out of Jimi Hendrix's hapless younger brother and failed at some of these things? Well, he's going to jump into the highly unregulated world of medical marijuana. And we'll be right back to see how that works out for Craig after this message from our sponsor.
These high school boys and girls are having a hop at the local soda fountain. Innocently they dance, innocent of a new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
Okay, just opened a bottle of Full Sail West Coast style IPA, India Pale Ale. It's at 7.0 ABV, alcohol by volume, so that's more than I would usually want in a beer. That's too much alcohol, but fuck it. Let's just go for it. We could do an entire podcast, not just one episode, about the Seattle medical marijuana experience, because I was there, man, participating on the consumer side and the business side a little bit. Just to set the mood, though, I have a copy of the Seattle Weekly, February 2011. There is a sexy pot nurse. What a tired trope. She's got a green cross above one of her ample breasts, and there's some cleavage. She's holding a green bong, and it says, Toke Signals, the smoking hot debut of our weekly medical marijuana column by Steve Elliott. And if you don't know Steve Elliott, he's a cretinous, anti-feminist, woman-hating, psycho, brutish maniac, and a terrible writer and a repeat plagiarist. And I can say that without worrying about litigation from this dick, because it is true. So the Seattle Weekly has stooped to running a medical marijuana column. And then you see there's advertising here: Choice Wellness Center, Green World Medical, Alternative Healing with, goodies, green label, Suzy Q's. Sort of the early days of the 4 Evergreen Group. This was open season for scammers, the medical marijuana thing, because people figured out that no one was getting busted. The feds were ignoring it in Seattle, and you had friendly politicians and cops were ignoring it. So you had medical pot shops opening up everywhere. And then when I-502 was passed, then things really took off. So Craig Dieffenbach started the Seattle Cannabis Co-op. That was on Rainier Avenue in an old payday loan center. Yeah, I went there a few times to check it out. You could buy any amount of pot. If you wanted to buy a half gram, they would do it. But again, the sketchier dispensaries are in that area where the people working there are sealed off by the bulletproof plexiglass. So you come in there and there's no guard or anything protecting the customers. It's just real sketchy. I also remember they had the same brown IKEA couch that my family once owned sitting in there. And so sketchy all around. You had to supposedly show your medical authorization paperwork, but not often. Who could resist this kind of scam? And of all the people to get in trouble legally because of this during this medical period, guess who was one of them? Okay, we'll be cribbing heavily from this. Pot proves big mistake for enterprising schemer by Maureen O'Hagan, Seattle Times, October 9th, 2012. From vodka impresario to real estate mogul to medical marijuana dispensary owner, Craig Dieffenbach now faces time in federal prison. He introduced Hendrix vodka in 2005 by hosting lavish parties in Beverly Hills and Las Vegas, sometimes rolling up in a 40-foot purple Hummer. "We're bottling Jimmy's spirit," he gushed to Bloomberg News. That class act. Anyone that will rent a 40-foot purple Hummer, that is a decent, honorable person who has much empathy for those less fortunate and privileged than themselves. That would be Craig Dieffenbach, class act, and hopefully future president of the United States. But, if you're a rich white guy with that privilege, you can keep failing upwards. So the article says, in earlier incarnations, Dieffenbach was a real estate impresario, a .com millionaire, and an art gallery owner. The real estate part is basically he's laundering his parents' money. That's basically what that is. He started a scheme called Seattle Online. And if you look at that on the Wayback Machine, it is the shittiest website imaginable. And he apparently made millions. I'm not finding much information about that, but that's yet another scam, the early days of the internet in Seattle. We have so many episodes to do about that, including one on Naveen Jain, the criminal that started Infospace.com. He also cheated Paul Allen out of lots of investment money for that. But I digress. So now at 51, he is facing federal prison. His mistake? Well, he made a lot of them, landing in hot water in one venture after another, but it was selling marijuana under the guise of medicine that's done him in. In August, he pleaded guilty to money laundering and drug conspiracy in connection with his medical marijuana business, Seattle Cannabis Cooperative. And for a long time, The Stranger, the alt weekly paper in Seattle, was running big ads for Seattle Cannabis Co-op, featuring, of course, a sexy medical marijuana nurse. Wow. In the 80s, according to this article, while running an art gallery in California, he founded the San Clemente Art Festival. He offered to donate a portion of the proceeds to an anti-drug charity. At the same time, court records show he was selling pounds of cocaine. He's an intelligent person with a great deal of talent and ability to make his way in the world, a federal judge was quoted as saying in 1990 before sentencing him to 4 years. He avoided a longer sentence by ratting out other dealers. We mentioned this at the beginning of this episode. Craig is alive because he lives in the United States and not somewhere else where they do not look kindly on those type of basically snitches. So we founded SeattleOnline.com, sold it for a lot of money to some suckers who are idiotic. But again, if you think you're going to get rich quick with something as dumb as SeattleOnline.com, then you deserve to be victimized by Craig Dieffenbach. Then he bought several buildings in Seattle's Columbia City neighborhood, including a historic theater. He did a scam in Everett. The city of Everett was planning a sports arena So in late 2000, he started snapping up properties nearby. They bought a dozen buildings. I feel like I'm part of the rebirth of Everett, he told the Everett Herald. But Dieffenbach nearly killed the arena deal in the process. He bought an old theater building for $425,000, betting it was where the city wanted to build its arena. 8 months later, he wrung $825,000 out of the city for it. He only cares about money. And then Jimi Hendrix vodka. Yeah, that's right. He entered the marijuana business with 2 partners. Someone in the industry accused them of trafficking in drugs rather than just treating patients, and authorities investigated. An informant was sent several times to buy marijuana and walked away with 5 pounds, way more than the limit in the gray area of the medical world. Again, from the Seattle Weekly, it's a piece of shit alt-weekly newspaper that no longer exists, except as a website that's really a ghost website, by Keegan Hamilton, August 22nd, 2012. Craig Dieffenbach, prominent Seattle real estate developer, was in court on Monday, owning up to accusations that he was the co-owner of a crooked medical pot dispensary, busted last year by the DEA. Dieffenbach asked an Associated Press reporter to keep the hearing under wraps so he wouldn't lose his job with a local realtor. But records show he just applied for his broker's license 2 weeks ago, on the eve of his guilty plea for federal drug charges. You can't, if you're going to be a criminal, you're always a criminal. Believe it, take it from me. If you're a schemer and a scammer, I'm some of that too, you will always be that. And if you're a sociopath doing one dumb thing after another and failing, you're going to keep trying and trying. I mean, that's what being an entrepreneur is, right? You're not going to succeed with your very first business. You're going to have to try and learn from your failures. Last November, Dieffenbach was caught in a federal crackdown on Puget Sound medical marijuana dispensaries. He had partnered with his girlfriend, Jing Mo, to operate the Seattle Cannabis Co-op, which according to the feds was flagrantly violating state law and trafficking large quantities of pot across state lines. And I think Jing is 20 or 30 years younger than Craig, but it's weird. These drug and pot and porn guys, they all have these tiny, petite Asian girlfriends. That's not some stereotype. That's just a fact that can be fact-checked. And, well, good for you, Craig. But Jing is going to be also popped for this and sentenced. And then she's going to be deported to Singapore. Can you imagine? Singapore is the most right-wing fascist country there is, almost. Not North Korea, but it's super strict. You throw a bubblegum wrapper down on the street and they're going to put a fucking gun to your head. And being deported to Singapore after being shamed in the U.S. on a drug charge, they do not look kindly on drugs in Singapore. I mean, I don't have time to look into her fate, but it probably was not a good fate, and I imagine she is still in jail. Of course, Craig is a free man, failing upward always. An undercover informant, also known as a narc, worked a deal with Dieffenbach and Mo to buy $3,000 worth of pot and ship it to the Midwest. Amusingly, Mo suggested the informant buy low-grade weed, thinking Midwesterners wouldn't know the difference. So Dieffenbach, drug conspiracy and money laundering charges. He pleaded guilty, forfeited $25,000 in cash, faces 5 years in prison. Although, again, he's a snitch, and his cooperation, the Seattle Weekly says, will likely earn him a lesser sentence. Craig's attorney was Aaron Pelly, one of the scummier pot attorneys in the area, and there are many of them. We can do an episode about them. So Craig pleaded guilty, his girlfriend pleaded guilty, and also Breon Corbray, owner of West Seattle's Game Collective. Breon is a friend of mine. We're going to have him interviewed on a future episode. And guess who busted these people? Prosecutor Jenny Durkan, who's now the fascist cop, psychopath, sociopath mayor of Seattle, who gets a sick psychosexual thrill from ordering her police chief to gas protesters.
Chris, as you know, I was the United States Attorney here in Seattle, and during that time as United States Attorney, we investigated and prosecuted a whole range of bad actors, including militia groups and drug cartels, anarchists and the like.
And Carmen Best, the police chief, she's an African-American woman, and it might not be my place to say this, but I will. She's a traitor to her race and a maniac and a sadistic enabler of violence, of police sadistic violence. Fuck identity politics. I don't care if she's a woman, if she's an African-American woman. She is shit.
Good afternoon. Glad you're with us this noon hour. I'm Jake Wittenberg. We're starting with some breaking news today. Seattle Police Chief Carmen Best now says abandoning the East Precinct was not her choice, and she's taking a shot at city leaders for making that decision. This is part of a 3-minute video that was just posted online where the chief is speaking directly to her officers. In it, she is unusually blunt about her feelings and the way protesters have been allowed to take over several city blocks on Capitol Hill. Listen.
I want to update you all on the situation at the East Precinct. The decision to board up the precinct, our home, the first precinct I worked in, was something I have been holding off. You should know, leaving the precinct was not my decision. You fought for days to protect it. I asked you to stand on that line, day in and day out, to be pelted with projectiles, to be screamed at, threatened, and in some cases hurt.
Just like the mayor, there have been calls for both of them to resign, and so far they have not. But let it be known, people hate those two bastards. So, and Breon is especially, he has strong words for Jenny Durkan. Didn't really sink in with me until she became mayor, and especially after this police violence in Seattle. But boy, that might be our next episode, is interviewing Breon. So you started a marijuana collective, getting lots of cash, selling lots of weed to people, you got a big stash. But there's something missing in your brain, and it might have been caused by cocaine. Craig Dieffenbach, you're an idiot. The United States Attorney's Office, Western District of Washington, Department of Justice for immediate release. Friday, January 18th, 2013. Drug trafficker who tried to hide behind medical marijuana shield sentenced to prison. Pound quantities of marijuana sold to those with no medical authorization. And again, drugs should be legal. It's almost not a big deal that Craig was siphoning pounds and pounds of marijuana sketchily out the back door of his dispensary. What he did do there is betray people who are in the medical marijuana field legitimately, and I know those people, and they're actually helping people with cancer and with AIDS. That's how the whole fucking thing started. And so Craig is a selfish sociopath. He doesn't care about that. So I don't care about the pot. Sell 1 million pounds of pot and you shouldn't spend a day in jail. But, along the way, of course, he's going to betray people. The owner of a medical marijuana dispensary that billed itself as a cooperative when it really was just for a for-profit drug dealing enterprise was sentenced today to 6 years in prison and 4 years of supervised release for conspiracy to distribute marijuana and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Craig Douglas Dieffenbach, 61, an owner of Seattle Cannabis Cooperative with locations in the Rainier Valley and Greenwood, pleaded guilty in August 2012. His co-defendant and co-owner Jingjing Mo, 31, will be sentenced next month. At today's sentencing, Chief U.S. District Judge Martha J. Peckman said she rejected the suggestion that he did this to help people. Rather, she said he saw selling marijuana as a business opportunity. It was a great business opportunity. It was a great chance to get rich, and you could have done it without pushing the limits so far that you get busted by the feds. We have made clear that truly sick people and their caregivers will not be targets of our enforcement efforts. This defendant was neither, says U.S. Attorney Jenny A. Durkan. Jenny A. Durkan, psycho, sick, maniac, horrible mayor of Seattle currently. And fuck identity politics again. I know that she is a lesbian and that she is a female, and those are great things, but that doesn't excuse her from being a horrible, hideous monster. It's sickening. Where is my barf bucket? Just thinking about what a cretinous creep and idiot liar she is. A green cross in the front window does not grant a license to sell pounds of drugs out the back door. Fuck you, Jenny. According to records filed in the case, Dieffenbach admits operating the marijuana stores for profit, selling pound quantities of marijuana to people who presented no medical authorization card. I never bought a pound from him, but I went in there out of curiosity and bought a gram, no card. There's no such thing as a card. It was a sheet of paper signed by a doctor. Not necessary, so I can confirm that. No big deal, although if you're going to be above the board, like many of the medical pot shops were, you would have required people to have paperwork and you would have actually looked at it. In her plea agreement, Mo admitted to offering to sell 25 pounds of marijuana for distribution across the country. Again, that's called diversion. Some of the states in the United States are not as open-minded as Washington State, and they frown upon people bringing marijuana into their state because they're psycho right-wing Trump fucking racist rednecks. But that's beside the point. Craig and his 30 years younger girlfriend should have known better. Marijuana traffickers continue to have a stranglehold on this state, said Drug Enforcement Administration Special Agent in Charge Matthew G. Barnes. The DEA will continue to do what it can to loosen their grip. Thanks, Jenny Durkan. Thank you a lot for taking care of this murderer. Oh, wait, no, he's just a pot dealer who's a fuck up. You're wasting the public's time and money for tax evasion. Fine, get him for that. But you know who you should get for fucking tax evasion? Jeff fucking Bezos and Bill fucking Gates, you fucking piece of shit, Jenny Durkan. Anyway, let's move on. I'm calm and collected here. I'm on my 7th tangerine-flavored LaCroix and my second 8-ounce bag of El Sabroso pork cracklins. I got all my alkaloids firing on all registers. So let's spending too much time on Craig fucking Dieffenbach, Seattle's greatest scam artist and failure and a person of white privilege and missing perhaps part of his brainstem. Let's move on. Let's wrap it up. Sold cocaine, marijuana. You're a real estate guy too. You got a really young, hot girlfriend, and everybody loves you. But then you mess up time and time again. Don't know why, but I'm your friend, Craig Dieffenbach. I love you. So Craig's partner, Jing Mo, pleads guilty to conspiracy to distribute marijuana, conspiracy to engage in money laundering, and she's a citizen of Singapore and will likely be deported following her prison term. And that's where we lose track of her. But if she was indeed deported to Singapore, then God help her. And I'm not one that believes in a work of fiction created in the pre-scientific era. So Craig served his time. And now, for all that we know, he's just a real estate developer again. He's working on a scheme at the Monticello Hotel. We know that because it's on YouTube. It's this room filled with middle-aged white people. And there is a graying Craig Dieffenbach wearing his typical blazer and Oxford shirt open at the collar. He's got those dead, vacant eyes deep set into his head, perhaps from allegedly freebasing cocaine at one point for like a month straight without sleeping, or maybe just because he's a psychopath and sociopath, allegedly. If you don't believe me, here's some clips.
Hello, I'm Kevin Hunter with a June 2017 update on the Monticello Hotel. Phase 1 completion has been made with an opening of the Crystal Ballroom. There were some people in the community that thought a June 16th completion date was mission impossible, but they underestimated the determination and ability of this man, Craig Dieffenbach. Pastor Jeff Hoover took a moment to explain to the crowd the roles of Craig, Sharon, and Tara in the Monticello, and shared his thoughts on the vision and hard work of project manager Craig Dieffenbach.
It just shows you how much difference one person can make. Yep. And these are people from outside the city who came in and had a vision for the place that we live. And I just want to tell you thank you. I'm so grateful that you got here.
Coincidentally, this evening also happened to be Craig's birthday, and what a way to celebrate.
So Craig has gotten a room filled with people to sell people that do not have internet access and can't Google him, apparently. Some ex-urban or rural, middle-aged, conservative white people to come celebrate his latest development and then cheer him on because it's his birthday. Craig, you are Seattle's greatest scam artist, not the most successful, but the most audacious. Come on. How did this Monticello Hotel real estate scheme or whatever it was work out for Craig? Well, the Daily News in Longview, Washington, May 1st, 2017. Former Monticello manager, I've been used as a scapegoat. It was late spring last year when Holly Hillman first got a call from Craig Dieffenbach about a potential deal to buy the Monticello Hotel. A group of Seattle investors wanted to launch a multi-million-dollar renovation of the historic property, and they were searching for local partners. Hillman agreed to meet with Dieffenbach. The idea of being involved in the hotel's rebirth was exhilarating. Within weeks, Nelson and Alleman joined with the Seattle investors to form the Monticello Place LLC. But less than 6 months later, clashes over management styles turned the deal into a nightmare, Hillman recalled. She spoke up by phone Monday from a state prison in Gig Harbor, where she is serving 17 months for a 2015 felony assault unrelated to her time at the hotel. Craig, you pick great friends and business partners. The 34-year-old refused to take the fall for the hotel's troubles. She said that much of her controversial management moves during her short stint at the hotel were actually direct orders from Dieffenbach himself. Dieffenbach, who has a felony record for drug dealing, wanted to stay out of the public view. Really? Is that what happened with that YouTube video when he's in a room with hundreds of people and they're celebrating his birthday? Craig, we are done with you. This has been the Doomed Planet Seattle True Crime Podcast, Episode 30. Seattle scam artist Craig Dieffenbach. You can find out more at doomedplanet.com. Now you could email us with suggestions, doomedplanetpod@gmail.com. And I want people to stay safe in the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. I was doing some errands on Rainier Avenue today in Seattle and saw hundreds and hundreds of people congregating and moving towards Judkins Park. That was going to be the start of today's march. And it's pouring rain today. It was pouring rain at that point, just really coming down. And that's not what Seattle is. That's why the umbrella thing is so funny. No one who lives in Seattle has a fucking umbrella. Most of the rain here is like a pleasant mist. But the rains are coming. And the people asking for Jenny Durkan, mayor of Seattle, and Carmen Best, police chief of Seattle, to resign, those two sick, sadistic freaks, I think you should listen. Jenny, Carmen, resign. Get the fuck out. Your behavior, your mismanagement, your maniacal, violent actions recently have disgraced you. You will go down in the history books as liars, a disgrace, enablers and encouragers of violence against peaceful protesters. You are shit. Goodbye.
5, 6, 7, 8. Goodbye. This is the end of the song.